Hey everyone, hi, this is Viraj here. So this is a new thing that I'm starting from this week. On every Sunday, I will be making a small podcast. So this is a podcast that I'm venturing into, a small podcast on what is going on with the macro economy markets and what am I reading, what are my thoughts on some of the points that are going on, etc. Just looking at a couple of charts if I find something interesting. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get right into it without wasting our time. So I'm going to share my screen and we will see what am I watching, reading, etc. Okay, so as you can see, this is one of the first screens. What am I seeing here? So these are basically country returns. So this is something that I usually keep a track of. So just to give you a quick overview of this, these are all the countries, all as in most of the countries that this site tracks. These are the returns. These are the CAGR returns, obviously, by one, like for the last month, 3 months, 6 month, 1 year. So if I see this as 10 year, that is the 10-year per year basis CAGR returns. And right now I have sorted it by the topmost performing countries at the rank one and then rest from there. So this is something that I like to keep track of because it just makes sense to understand and get a view of where we stand as a country, India in itself. So that is very important, I think. And also to, make us grounded, like we shouldn't be concentrated as such. So anyway, so Argentina is at the topmost for the last 10-year CAGR returns, as you can see. But to be honest, all of this outperformance that it went through, like because it came on the top, the whole outperformance happened in the last 5 years. As you can see here, the last 5 year CAGR returns were at around 34 percentage per year basis. So yeah, all of that outperformance that you see in the 10-year returns as well, that all came in the last 5 years. Most of it was because of election of Milei. Once Milei came back and their economy turned around, I think things started going great for Argentina. I'm not pretty sure what he did, but most of the things that he did was cut down the excesses, so to say, cut down the bureaucratic things that were, probably harming their economy. I guess I'm not sure. I didn't go into detail, but it's very interesting to see that it is on the top for both 5 and 10 years. So the last 5 years kind of, who caught up with all the returns of the 10 years. And then other countries, as you can see, I'm not going to go in every country here. I just wanted to take a look at India. As I usually do, I keep a track. So India is at the 10th rank over the last 10 years. Again, so to say this yearly returns, the CAGR returns that you're seeing are in USD terms. So these are not local currency returns, these are USD returns, which brings all of them to, at equal footing so that the comparison is fair. Because if you see local returns, if your currency is deflating, your local returns might look so good. But, bringing them all to an USD return point of view, it makes sense because then you get a fair comparison. And as you can see, all of these countries, so there are a lot of countries which have negative CAGR as well. So Saudi Arabia has no, sorry, Philippines has a negative 2.5% negative CAGR. China is at minus 0.9% CAGR over the last 10 years. Like their economy grew so much, but for some reason, their CAGR is not great. So this is also a reminder to all of us, especially to me, to be honest, like he cannot be concentrated in one country. Now, we are grateful, we are lucky right now as Indians that our country has really outperformed quite nicely. Obviously, it's not on the top, but it's not bad at the equity returns. But we never know the future, right? So it's not really prudent to put all our eggs in one country basket. Like with the options that we have available today with LRS and some ETFs and all the other things, this is something that I truly believe in, that international diversification is very important, and this chart is a reflection of that. Like a lot of emerging countries, like even though they are not negative, something like say Malaysia is at negative, but say South Africa is at 2.36% CAGR, Korea at 2.4% CAGR, even countries like UK at 4.3% CAGR, Norway at 4% CAGR. So it's not necessary that your country has enough diversification to outperform for a very long time, right? So it's always better to have an international diversification. There are multiple ways you can do that, but I think this chart just displays that, like how much important it is. I personally have taken step towards that, and I hope everyone else is doing as well. But yeah, this is really, really important. Another thing that I want to check out quickly is the drawdown. This is something that I also see, like even though the returns are great, but at what cost or at what drawdown did they come at? So Argentina, as you can see, is at the top with the highest CAGR in the last 10 years, but it also came with like a 56% drawdown in USD terms in the last 10 years, right? So that's not small. It's a gut-wrenching drawdown, 56%. It's just a number on this table, but when you go through 56% drawdown, like losing half of your money, it's a gut-wrenching drawdown. You can be sure about that. India went through a 34% drawdown as well in USD terms. I think this is during COVID, if I'm not wrong, but nevertheless, it is there. And if I just sort this on just 10-year return, so Poland went through the worst drawdown of 60%. Many of these countries, like China, even though it has given negative CAGR, it still has gone through 57% drawdown, which is not a small drawdown. Korea went through 48% drawdown. So yeah, I mean, drawdowns are part and parcel, but if you have uh, exposure to an international ETF which invests in multiple countries, uh, it might help you to reduce your drawdowns. Like when you invest in an international ETF, like an all world ETF, it will never be on the top. It will never be at the top rank of the performance, but you can be sure that it will also not be at the bottom of the performance, right? It will be somewhere in the middle or in the one of the top ranks, so to say. Uh, and yeah, basically, getting rid of country risk is also very important, right? And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. This is something that I observe every month. I keep a track of it. So this chart last updated on 31st May. It is updated every month as far as I remember. But yeah, I mean, you can keep a track of this as well if you want. It's really important. The next thing that I was also looking at is the whole conflict that is going on in the Middle East right now with Iran, Israel, US, and everyone. So, so everyone is worried about oil, right? So let's just talk about it a little bit. I was very interested, and I came across this chart, this infographic, so to say. So I wanted to talk to you about. So this is about Iranian oil exports. So if you see here. So here the red are the countries where most of the Iran's oil is exported, and green are the countries where it is not. Like they were previously importing, but now they are not importing. So as you can see, in 2017, there were a lot more countries who were importing Iran oils. But by 2023, most like I think almost all of the Iran's oil goes to China, 91%, and maybe around 7% goes to Syria and stuff. So it's very interesting to see this. So even though there is a lot of conflict right now going on in the Middle East, I don't think it will cause any effect on the oil prices as much, but we never know. So there are two aspects here that I see that are involved. One is obviously the oil that Iran exports, and the another thing is the Strait of Hormuz, from where the other oil of Middle East countries travels into Europe, maybe US, and the rest of the world. The problem is if this conflict goes ahead, there can be a possibility that Iran might just, close down that whole Strait of Hormuz, and we never know what will happen there. So that's the only tipping point I would say. But otherwise, I don't see a major effect here. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there is a lot of issue for most of the countries in the world. Even so, India, I don't think we have a lot of issue here. So I think we are good on this. And the next thing that I wanted to, while tracking this, I was also seeing is our Forex reserves. So this is the table of Forex reserves that RBI updates. This is directly from RBI's data. So if you see, as of 13 June 2025, our total reserves are around $698 billion, very close to the recent highs. I think the high was in September at around 703 or $704 billion, something like that. Right now, we are at $698 billion of total forex reserves. Out of that, almost most of it is in USD, USD and other foreign currency assets, like $589 billion are in foreign currency assets. Huge chunk, so to say, out of $698 billion. Around $86 billion is in gold. It's definitely increasing, but it's not at the level of the foreign currency percentage, but it is definitely increasing. So most of our assets are divided between foreign currency assets and gold, with like almost 80% of them or more in foreign currency assets, basically. So I think we are good. Our forex reserves are better to handle any volatility that comes in through this whole Middle East conflict. I really don't see any problems here. I think we should, like, there might be some hiccups here and there, but I don't see a major issue right now unless something drastically changes. I think we should be able to, drive through this conflict very easily and straightforward. Our markets might go into a little bit of turmoil because of the overall nature of the conflict, but I don't think there are any long-term effects. Our inflation is good, our forex is good, our imports are almost negligible to that part of the world, at least from the countries involved. So I think we are in a very good situation right now to handle this crisis. Honestly, I don't see a lot of effect on markets as well, but let's say never say never, right? Another chart that I came across after this was car exports by country. It was really interesting to see this. So if you see this here, this is how China, just like until 2021, China was like not even the top car exporters, right? But in the last 4 or 5 years, it has boosted away, like just like anything, it has gone to the top car exporter in the world. It has gone from less than 1 million to almost 5 millions of car exported every year, like on a rolling basis, in the last 5 years. So this is what the scale of China is, right? You all know this. We all have heard about this, but this chart basically tells us like it's eating up all the market that is available around the world. Most of it is being gained from Germany. As you can see, Germany went from about 4 million to almost at 3 million now. So a loss of 1 million um, cars per year on a rolling basis. Other countries have kind of kept or lost a little bit of their share, but China has zoomed past like anything. Again, India, from the purview of India, I don't see this as a big issue, honestly, because India has a lot of domestic car manufacturers who are pretty competitive. I don't think China is going, and we have a lot of tariffs as well on Chinese cars, etc. I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue into our car market per se. But just look at this, like China has just zoomed past everyone. But also, this is not the only chart. There is one more chart coming after this on the same, like car exports by China. We have to see this in a context. It's not really that simple as you can see, like China is eating up the world or something. The China's market is still mostly domestic and not export oriented, at least for its car. So if we go here and if we see this chart, so this is what this chart shows is like this. So the blue line is the number of cars manufactured in China. The green line is the domestic sales of those cars, and the orange line is the exports. Now, surely exports have increased a lot right now, but still, like of the total cars manufactured, it's still a lot of minuscule percentage. Like if total car manufactured are 30 millions, and out of that 5 million are exported, that's like what, 10, 15%, 20% at the most, I think, not more than that, right? So it's still a small part of their overall industry. So most of the cars manufactured in China today are still sold in their domestic markets, as you can see through this chart. It's not like they're exporting anything and everything. But the thing is, the volume of that China is so big a market, and their companies produce so many cars that even if like 5-10% of those cars get into the export market, it creates a huge number for the rest of the world, and it basically eats up the market share from rest of the competitors that are available in the world, right? So it's not really simple to see. Like on a percentage basis, China is still like very low in terms of, as I said, the number of cars exported versus the domestic markets. But it's interesting to see that just because the number is so huge, it just creates a lot of market share grabbing from other competitors that are available in the world. It's really interesting for me to see how this evolves in the future. This is something that I'm definitely going to keep a track of. And yeah, let's see. That's pretty much on the car market. And one more thing, the next thing that I was reading, a news article that came into my view was this from Business Standard India. So Indian IPO market is heading for the busiest week with $1.7 billion in deals. So in the next week, hopefully, we are going to get into a lot of IPOs with around 1. $7 billion of deal. The Most chunk of this is going to be for HDFC Financial Service Finance. So the HDB Financial Services, it is, a unit of HDFC Bank as we know, and its IPO is around $1.4 billion. So it's going to be the biggest chunk of it. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, mostly it is like the IPO market is rebounding. Does this mean the bull market is starting again? I don't know. But typically, historically, it's been that whenever IPOs start coming back in, there is more liquidity in the markets. Oh, and because of more liquidity, it is assumed that the bull phase is starting, etc. So I don't know, but let's see. Hopefully, it works out. Like like Nifty has been sluggish for the last year or so. So we made a top in September 2024, Nifty around 26,000. We haven't yet breached that. So it's almost a year. So it was in September 24 sometime when we made all-time high at 26,000. We haven't yet gotten back to that point. It's almost end of June now, a couple of more months, and we will be at September again. So in a year, like no returns per se. But let's see how it goes. Hopefully this IPO and other IPOs, bring back the liquidity in the market and the bull phase. One more thing, the LG Electronics IPO, it was a purely offer for sale. It was the last time, I think it was in 24 when it was going to take place, but it was cancelled later considering the liquidity situation and bear market. There are news going on. I saw this article that it's coming back probably. I don't know how true it is, but basically it means that the liquidity is coming back if this also comes back, right? So let's see how it goes. But hopefully market recovers and we see a little bit of more IPOs. The other problem is that whenever a couple of big IPOs come, the problem is that these big IPOs soak up all the liquidity, all the cash from the markets as well. And it really doesn't lead to a lot of rally in the main indices. So there is a kind of zigzag there. So let's see what happens. I'm really curious to see what is working here and what goes on with our markets. Some international things that I'm following right now is this. So AWS custom chip strategy is showing results and cutting into NVIDIA's AI dominance. So basically, AWS is going to announce an update to its Graviton 4 chip. So it is the same chip on which Claude Opus model is launched. I think, or Trainium 2 GPU, something like that. I forgot. Yeah. So Claude AI model is launched on AWS Trainium 2 GPUs, and AWS also going to announce an update on the Graviton 4 chip. So basically, is this like cutting into NVIDIA's dominance? It was very interesting to read this because NVIDIA has been the market leader right now in the chip scheme. So all of this AI, the whole training happens because of these chips, right? And right now the leader is NVIDIA. And if NVIDIA is the leader, uh, there is bound to some competition to come eventually. I don't think it will come so soon because the chip technology itself is pretty hard to crack, but it seems AWS has probably cracked it. We don't know. Claude, which is one of Anthropic's most Cloud Opus is being launched on AWS GPUs. So that's a big thing. It's one of the best model that has been there out there. And I use it personally for coding as well. So I know how good it is. And it's really interesting to see how this pans out, whether it will, create more competition against NVIDIA and stall NVIDIA's growth in some way or not. We don't know. Let's see. But this is something that I was also observing. The next thing is this. Similarly, OpenAI hits $10 billion in annual recurring revenue, which was obviously fueled by ChatGPT. Everyone knows that. But just imagine $10 billion annual recurring revenue. $10 billion is almost like 85,000 crores yearly revenue. How many companies in India even have that kind of revenue? And this is their ARR, recurring revenue. It's not like they're selling a product and then customer is never buying back. This is software revenue mostly with it's really interesting. Their last valuation I think was around $350 billion when they raised private funds. Obviously they must be making like a lot of losses here as well because it's really tough to uh, train these models and service all these requests. So yeah, as you can see, it's they must be making a lot of losses. So this is about that funding round. It last funding round was in March with $40 billion raised. It is at 30 times revenue, so $10 billion, so that's about 3 billion, 30 billion, $300 billion valuation. I don't think any like there are maybe 10 companies in India or not even 10 who have that kind of a valuation, right? 10, 15 companies at the most, I think. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how this space pans out. And this is also another reason why we should have, international diversification. If you're just stayed in India, we really don't have access to any of these companies, all these new things that are going on, the innovation around AI everywhere. It's really not available in India right now. Most of it is concentrated in the US, at least through public and private markets. Most of the top companies like Meta, Google, NVIDIA are all listed in the US. And if you want to be able to, participate in this growth and create kind of a diversification, it's really important to get that international diversification, I think. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it's what something that is very important. And talking about OpenAI, also, I came across this small paper where it basically says that when you use LLMs a lot, or so to say, ChatGPT, to do your tasks like writing essays, etc., it kind of creates a cognitive depth. Cognitive depth here means it kind of mushes your brain, to say in a very very layman terms. Mm, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what will happen here. Are we really losing our ability to think cognitively, come up with, good, good thoughts in perspective of, logical thinking, uh, firing up neurons which get trained when we do difficult tasks. So it's not easy for us to learn anything, right? When we try to learn anything, it's extremely difficult. Our brains have neurons which gets fired up and trained when we do a particular kind of task, and we become used to it and it becomes easy. But if you're using LLMs for doing everything like analyzing an article or a PDF, etc., or doing math problems or scientific problems, just push everything to LLM and not really do that hard work of training your neurons, can it lead to a lot of cognitive depth in humans? And will in the future the people who do the hard work will have the most easy way out for being employed? Or we don't know the answer to those questions. I'm really interesting. I do use LLMs a lot, uh, but I think it's really necessary for me to take a step back and see it uh, in a way that I'm not hampering my own growth. I hope I do that. And yeah, I mean, these are all the things that I was reading, watching, and talking about a bit. Hope, yeah. One more thing that I did last week is I finished up this book, Dopamine Nation. Um, it's a good book. It's by Dr. Anna Lemke. I like this book. It tells us what is our relationship with dopamine and what we do, uh, what we can do to control it, how we can avoid it, etc. So in today's world, everything is feeding our dopamine, right? Releasing our dopamines, like scrolling on Twitter, scrolling on Facebook, Instagram, watching reels, drinking alcohol with easy access, access to everything at a click of a button. It basically releases dopamine, and uh, this talks about extreme cases, but it definitely gives us some insights into how we can try to control it. One thing that I've done actually this week, which is a big, big, huge thing for me, is that I have quit all my social media. So I've deleted my Twitter account, I deleted my Instagram account, I deleted my Facebook account. These three were the most time consuming for me. I was very addicted to Twitter. I was not very addicted to Instagram or Facebook, but I was really, really addicted to Twitter, man. But I'm glad that, I quit it finally. And I hope like I don't go back on it. The goal is to be never going back on this dopamine addictive social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and just be mindful of it. Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can continue. And just that. So if you want to contact me, obviously you can comment on this video or send me an email to viraj@momoindiascreener.in. And I will be happy to answer any of your questions or any of your comments. Give me feedback whether you like this, whether I should continue this or not continue this. I don't know. I'm just gonna try it for a few months and then cut. If I'm not getting a response, I might cut back, I might continue. I just don't know the answer to that right now. So yeah, I mean, it was really great doing this for the first time. I don't know how good it is. Thank you for listening again. So see ya then. See you next week on Sunday again.